so far that it has been enjoyable to you as it has to us, the HOACGA people locally that work to try to put this on for your benefit and for your pleasure, and hope that it's been as so far it's been enjoyable to you as it has been for us in planning this. Earlier today we were having a little problem of getting everyone in, but it looks like there are a few empty chairs here. We had initially 290 people, and then we came in and said squeeze some more in, and we had it up to 302. So if there's a few empty chairs, people come in, why we may have to crowd in, but it looks like there are a few empty chairs. So if you see someone coming in needs a chair, why there are some up front. Again, we thank you for coming. As you know, this is our 25th convention anniversary, and there were some people originally that were responsible for the birth of this organization, and that started back when there were some people that just kind of met and got together and talked about Carnival and bragged about what they had found that day or the week before. So we have invited some of those people, and of course some of them have deceased since that time, but there are some of them with us, and we would like to introduce those people at this time. And we will first, I will introduce some of the original 9. There were 9 people that originally started the organization, and I will introduce those original 9 first, and then there were some people that came on after they had really formed the club of Heart of America. And if you have, you should have received in your packet a booklet on the history of the first 25 years of HOACGA. And on the first page, you see those 9 original people. So if you have not received that book and you do not have it, Ed Kramer goofed up. But I would like to, at this time, to introduce some of those people. And first, I'm going to introduce Dorothy Taylor, and hold your applause until we have introduced all of them, then we will recognize all of them at the same time. So Dorothy was our first bulletin secretary, and she served from 1972 to 1975. Dorothy's my neighbor. Then Viola Sheichels. Vi, you were your husband. Davis was the first president. Of course, Davis is deceased since that time, but Vi's husband was the first president of HOACGA. And then we have Charles and Eleanor Mokel. Please remain standing, Vi, you and Dorothy. Charles and Eleanor Mokel, they were the original part of the original 9, and Charlie just came along and gave them all advice. That's Charlie's. And then we have Mary Frances Derendinger, who was one of the original, and Mary Frances was the treasurer from 72 to 73. We have and that is all of the original 9 members that are with us this evening. Then we have some of those members that came along later and served in the capacity and helped the organization get its footing and start, and organization that has, they laid the foundation for the organization that it is today. So one of those was Cooley Miller, and his wife Marge is deceased, but Cooley was the president from 1978 through 1980. Then we had Flo Cunningham, Dr. and L.B. and Florence Cunningham. And at the first convention that we had, the club had $0, and we were talking about big things, so had big plans and no money. That's, we still do a lot of those kind of things, but Flo Cunningham at the first convention that we had donated some glass, and we auctioned it off and raised the first $1,000 for the club. Thank you, Flo. After we got $1,000, we thought we had all the money in the world. We could just start out and do anything we wanted to, and we started that way. Lucille Britt, of course, you know that John is deceased in January, but Lucille is with us, and John and Lucille were early members, and you know their record that has gone on and has improved the life and the carnival glass in itself. I don't, is Deanne Yancey, Deanne, and they have brought guests, but I am not aware of the guests, so we'll ask the guests to stand also. But Deanne was, she served, she was an early member, and I think you served as the secretary, treasurer from 1975 through 1976. Then we have Virgil and Cora Kilgore with us. Where's Virgil and Cora? Oh, you didn't get it at the special guest table here, Virgil and Cora. Okay. But Cora was the treasurer from 1977 to 1980. Then we have Sarah Love and her guest. Would you stand, please? And Sarah was the president in 1975. And then we have Gene, what was Gene Raditz, but it's Gene Lineback now. So Gene, would you and Howard stand, please? And Gene was one of those people that, you know, when you have a meeting, you got to have cake and coffee. So Gene always brought the cake and coffee to the meeting. So we always appreciated Gene Raditz. And then Bernie and Nadine Paulson are with us. And of course, Nadine started, I guess probably at every convention we've had. She's brought in the cakes and the pies, and she's served as hospitality. So she's been doing hospitality for 25 years for us now. So we appreciate Nadine and Barney. Barney brings it in. Nadine does all the work, but Barney just comes along and helps. So, but anyway, those are the people from the original and the first members that are with us this evening. So let's give them a great round of applause. So we would, on our 25th anniversary, we would like to offer a toast, and I think that before you is a wine glass, an orange tree, white orange tree, carnival glass, wine glass, and all those can participate because this is nothing more than grape juice. So we failed to get. We thought, well, it would sure be nice to have red grape juice, but we couldn't get sparkling, red sparkling grape juice, so it is white. So I would like to say that we raise our glass in a toast to those early members who were there to form the organization, and to those members that came along immediately thereafter and laid the groundwork for the organization, for its success as it is today, and to those members that are here, to you that are here that have helped this institution or whatever this may be, as far as whatever the carnival glass thing is, has made it at what it is today. And also we would like to toast those members that will be coming along in the future. May they help also in this endeavor of carnival glass collecting. So we'll toast them. George Thomas, don't let this get to you now. Don't let this get to you now. At this time, that we will ask our treasurer, Mr. Cliff Ball, if he will give the invocation. Cliff?
You may remain seated. Would you bow for the invocation? Our gracious God, you have surrounded us with room after room of beautiful glass, and you have surrounded us with wonderful friends. You have given us the resources to come here and to enjoy and to promote our carnival glass hobby. For all of this, we give you our heartfelt thanks. We ask that you bless our time together, that you strengthen the ties that bind us, and that you help us preserve the memories of this day so that we may take them home with us. Amen.
While you're waiting for the salads to be served, is there anyone here, as far as at least one per family, that did not get? Ed has brought some additional copies with him, and you're see Ed afterwards, and he will have a copy of this with you. How many people have read over the history of the club? Have looked at this? I think the back part of this is rather interesting. We went through all 25 years of the glass that has been advertised for sale and have listed in the back of the book by year. So it's rather interesting to see how the volume of glass has increased over the years. I think that the last year of 1997, there was something like about $1.2 million of glass that were advertised in the bulletin. So enjoy your meal. If you're still eating your dessert, why please continue. We have a few announcements we need to make, and as in any function, any convention, there takes considerable amount of labor, a lot of help from those that not only are local, but some of those that come to the convention. So we would like to recognize those people that have provided some help for us here in the activities and putting on the programs and putting on the banquet and all of those various activities. For those people that helped set up, display, tear down the Aqua Opal display, we'd like to thank Joe and Shirley Williams, Gail Eichhorst, Jackie Fortney, and Jim Seek for doing the narration there of identifying the glass and talking about the glass. So would you people stand, please? Of course, the activity for that was organized by Daryl and Norma Strom, and Jackie Fortney helped with that. And also, we want to thank Jim Seek for his contacts of getting the Aqua Opal here and put it on display. Even though we didn't have 100% of those items, we think it was a very outstanding display of glass. And we would like to especially thank those people that packed up that glass 1,000, 1,200 miles away, put it in their car and brought it here and put it on display for all of us to see and observe and admire and learn about. So again, another big thank you to all of those people that provided the glass. And then getting the banquet, the roses on the table and the glasses put out and all of those things that make it just a little bit special. For the banquet, we want to thank Norma Strom for planning the table decorations and making the plans and organizing in Norma. Then also like to thank Carol Curtis, Dorothy Snell, and Bertie Metzger for being the helpers and getting everything organized here this evening. Thank you. Would you please stand? And then Ed's crew for registration. I don't know exactly how many there were, but there were several people that were here that were under Ed's direction. And if you haven't been under Ed's direction, you don't know where you've been. So all of those that helped Ed, would you please stand? I don't know who all may be, but I know there were several people. So would you all stand, please, that were there helping at the registration? We had one of the educational parts of any convention is the room displays. Again, this takes a lot of effort and ingenuity and thought by many people.
The wide family burning.
I'm glad it was after, not before. But for the room displays and all of those that put forth an effort, it's probably one of the major learning experiences that we have in coming to the conventions, especially to those newer members and newer collectors, and in a lot of cases to some of us that are older collectors. You can always find a lot of thought that's gone in. Who would have ever went by the Curtis's room, and I don't think that was real wine, it was flowing, but I don't think that Jerry would have wasted that much wine. But anyway, those kind of things are really a very educational part of the convention. And if Jerry or Carol are here, we would like to announce the winners of the Jerry and Carol were in charge of the room displays, and they had a crew that helped them. So Jerry and Carol, would you come up, and then also with those people that helped in the room display judging, so that everybody can blame you. Would you please stand so we can recognize you? For those winners, there's a monetary reward. For theme, it was Will and Judy Schutz and Our Flower Garden of Glass. They were the theme winners. Will and Jerry. I think that Will was doing some advertising. If you want a stained glass window, you can probably see him, and he may make you one too. For the same color, which was white, and it was through the years, was Carol and Vern Schrader. Carl. Don't say anything, I'll have Whitley tell his joke about you, Carl. For the same pattern, guarding the patch, Dragon and Strawberry, was Elaine Benedict. You Texans, she's a transplant from Kansas down to Texas now, so you ought to get her down on your side now since she's in Texas. Rarities, Rose and Greek Key, plate by Keith and Nola Schmocker. For the same maker, room 320 on the Dugan's Delight, Emmett and Dorothy Morgan. The same shape, which is buttons, a palette of colored buttons, Alan Perry, room 502. And the one that was judged as the best overall was room 403, Eperned by Northwood Gale Icorst. Those were the room displays that were judged as the best of their category, but we think that all of the room displays were the best also. We do appreciate the room displays and the education that it does provide all of us here. We'd also like to thank not only Jim Seek for his contribution and go over explaining the Aqua Opal, but we had a seminar that was put on by Frank Fenton and Howard Sufer, and of course Howard is not here, but we still have retained Frank here with us. So Frank, we really appreciate your coming down and helping organize, and with Howard and convincing him to come down and put on a seminar. We appreciate it very much. And we also appreciate those members that we asked to participate in the recollection by collectors, and their participation in a panel discussion and a question and answer type session. And we think that it's Mr. Cox said that he thought, well, why would anybody want to come down and listen to a bunch of old fogies up there talking? But he said there were several people afterwards came up to him and commented about how much they enjoyed the talk and the comments that were made. So we do appreciate your participation in this activity, and I'm sure that there was some information there that we could all heed and listen to and take advantage of. So again, thank those people that were participating in the panel discussion of recollection of collectors. Thank you very much. And then we would also like to recognize and thank Bobby and Joyce Seeley for providing such an outstanding auction today for the convention, and providing some glass that she'd been hoarding over the years and letting it out again. So Bobby and Joyce, we appreciate your confidence and allowing the glass to be sold here at our convention. And thank you, Jim Seek, for bringing it here and putting it on. Thank you. We hope that it was as successful as you had hoped for it to be.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for their bids.
So next year we have asked for Floyd and Cecil Whitley's collection to be sold here, and we think that it will be sold here, and hoping that it will be brought up here for sale. So I'm sure that next year we will see another fine collection of glass being offered for sale here at the same place at the same time next year. So we're looking forward to that, Floyd and Cecil. We do have some whimsies up here. There's some lists up here. We will pass out later on if you'd like to have a list of the whimsies that we are offering for sale. You see a lamp that is burning up there, shining. That is offered by Bob McCock, made the shade, and I believe, and he's donated that to the club, and the proceeds will go to the club. He said that that would be the last large shade that he would make. It was just too much effort to make that shade and break all that glass and cut it up. So anyway, he said that would be the last shade that he would make of that size. So if you want the last Bob LeCoq light, there it is this evening. And Don, we appreciate your furnishing the the base to the lamp also. So we appreciate the Lecoq brothers for your lamp this evening. And it will be auctioned off. We have a couple of members that did come a long ways to be with us. We're coming up and looking at the list of people that were here, and we had one name that we couldn't recognize and I asked the ladies that were here at the reservation at the embassy about these people. Were they really the Carnival Glass people? And she said, well, we have a wire or a fax in here, and it's from New Zealand. So we have with us today, this evening, and who have throughout the convention, a couple of ladies from New Zealand, Susan Petch and Margaret Bryan. Would you please stand, please? We hope that the trip was beneficial and interesting and worth your trip over. And we will invite you back at any time that you would like to come. I would like to introduce the head table. And on my right is, of course, our very good friend, Frank Fenton. Frank, we went up, he called me, and I think it was in March. He called and said, we're going to make the loving cups, and one little wine glasses. So we went up to see Frank, and so the first day we were there, he made about 4 hours worth of loving cups, and so we came back about 1:30 or 2 o'clock after they came out of the Lear, and he put them back, and we started looking at them. There weren't very many good ones, so he said, well, tomorrow we'll make the loving cups. So started making loving cups, and I think the second day they said, well, the scrubbers went down and they had to stop because they were spraying iridescents, and because of the environmental things they had to stop spraying, so they shut that down. So after about 2 days, they really hadn't gotten very far with the souvenirs. Then he kept calling and saying, well, we made another turn, we didn't get anything. So I think it came up the day before I came up, we got the shipment of the loving cups and the wine glasses, that he made about 6 turns to get the loving cups and wine glasses made for us. So Frank, we do appreciate your efforts for not only HOACGA, I'm sure for all of the other organizations that you work with in providing these little dribbles of glass that we order from you, that you so graciously attend to out in the shop and look after and worry over. I told Frank the other day, we appreciate his effort even though he may be going broke, but we still appreciate his effort. So we thank you very much. And he provides the whimsies and looks after that, and there's a couple of very unique whimsies over here tonight that he has made and donated to the organization also. And then next we have Cliff and Joanne Ball, our very capable treasurer and hard worker, and they live in Olathe, Kansas. So I'd like to recognize Cliff and Joanne Ball. Thank you. Next we have one of Carnival Glass's goodwill ambassadors for everybody. Everywhere you see Chuck, he's got someone cornered trying to sell him a membership into some organization in Carnival Glass. He writes articles on the auction trail and just general information about Carnival, but he is Carnival Glass, one of the Carnival Glass's main goodwill ambassadors in selling the membership and convincing the people out there at the auctions and conventions about joining the organization. So Chuck Kramer, we appreciate it very much. And the next lady there, she said she wasn't in mourning, but she had bought a new dress and she was going to wear it anyway. So anyway, my right hand and helper and critic, And the person that I get upset, I holler at because she's the sounding board. My wife, I'm Gene. And on the left is everybody's favorite and our secretary that keeps things well organized and keeps maybe all of us in line, and balks that whenever he doesn't want to do something that we think we ought to do, but when he balks, we all balk. So Ed Kramer, our secretary. Then the lady that has the task of putting together each month and every month, and just as soon as you get one bulletin out, it's time to start getting things together to put it to the printer for the next one. And our bulletin secretary, Jackie Forty. Thank you, Jackie. Then our vice president, Ann, has decided that Norma decided that they're going to build a new home. Since he retired and sold his glass, she has a place for all that money. So she wants a new home, so they're in the process of trying to put together a contract for building a new home. So he said he thought he needed to put forth his efforts in the new home construction. And I'm sure that the builder that gets that contract is going to wish he didn't have that contract. But they're worrying about it. But anyway, our vice president for the last 6 years, Daryl Norman Strong. And then we'll, I won't introduce the speaker, but we'll introduce his very lovely wife, Carol Sinclair. Well, when I was down in Texas, my wife got introduced as Bob Gallo's wife. So. But that wasn't Richard Sinclair that did that. That was Tommy Whitley that did that stuff. But anyway, Carol Sinclair, and I'm sure that Carol has been a very instrumental person in the Texas and other organizations. And of course, as you all know, that Richard's everybody's standby when you need a job and a speaker and a job to get done very well. Everybody, and I'm sure not only HOACGA, but Texas, International, and all of those organizations call on Richard, but we'll introduce him later as our speaker. But anyway, Carol Sinclair. Well, have I covered all of the miscellaneous nonsense? Oh, yes, we do advertise that we have we'll give away a piece of glass for those people that, if you pre-register, we'll have a drawing. So we encourage you to pre-register. It's to our benefit and your benefit to pre-register. So Ed is the organizer of the drawing. So we do have a gift that will be given away this evening. So you may proceed with the drawing, Ed.
Let's take the shut. On any unauthorized entries.
It's probably taped shut in a certain way, too.
Well, this gentleman isn't here. His name is Jack Callender. He had to cancel for some reason, but we'll have to mail him his gift. Shall we open it and show what it is?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
inspect Jack Callender's gift. Our treasurer told us that there was very slim chance that would happen, that someone that had pre-registered and wasn't here would win this gift. But Cliff, your statistics went out the window here tonight.
This is from Fenton. Vikings, what's your name?
It's a Viking boat.
Very unusual piece. Well, we'll mail it to Jack.
We will have the auction of the lamp and the whimsies following our program. When we started to talking about this being a 25th anniversary, we thought, well, we would like to maybe have a program and go through some of the happenings of the 25th. So we contracted with Richard Sinclair, our old standby, and to make a presentation for us. Now, Richard Sinclair has been the president of Texas Carnival Glass. He is presently the vice president of ICGA, which ICGA will be having their convention here in the same hotel in June of this year, I think it is. So all of you that are here, while you're here and you check out, you can make your reservation back here in June. So you can save yourself a telephone call by just making your reservation while you're here if you haven't already made that reservation. Richard has been a speaker at many and most all of the Carnival Glass organizations, and I know that any of you that have been there and have listened to Richard, you always find it very informative and entertaining and educational. So we asked Richard to present a program based on HOACGA's 25 years in the past. Now, he said he would do that, and I'm sure that's what he is going to do. I haven't seen that, and he hasn't told me anything about that, so we're going to say that's what he's doing. Now, we printed a text, so if the text in Richard's presentation do not agree, then Richard is probably right. But anyway, we'd like to at this time introduce Richard Sinclair.
Some of you over there may want to move because I do have some pictures. First, let me say that it is good to be with friends. It is also good to have roses. I'd like to congratulate HOACGA on putting on a great convention. If you turn them off any farther, I won't be able to see my notes. That's okay. I think that's okay. Old eyes need light. And it's been a very successful night for me. I checked my fly before I came in. That was okay. And I did not spill any of that red sauce on that lovely salad on my shirt. And so we're off to a good start. Tonight we're going to take a look at 25 years of this organization. And I would like to thank a friend of mine from Dallas who is a professional photographer that I called on to make some slides from pictures. And these are the pictures that you are going to see. These are pictures of people that are from about 25 years ago and on forward. I gotta have some light. Nine couples, as you know, were meeting in this general area of the country to discuss, brag, share, educate, inform themselves, and to have a good time with Carnival Glass. One of the things that I think we need to remember is that we do this for fun, camaraderie, friendship, and so on. These 9 couples were meeting, and they decided to form an organization called the Heart of America Carnival Glass Association. This was in 1972. So the first things that I'm going to be talking about, and with the pictures, is going to deal prior to the first convention. What we're really celebrating tonight is 25 years after the first convention. But the first pictures that you're going to see are of the folks that started this organization. Mr. and Mrs. Dale Scheichels, Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Daring-Dinger, the Treffs from Kansas City, Mr. and Mrs. Frank Ronk from Merriam, Kansas. These pictures, by the way, are not in any order. The Ronks, the Boris family, Dr. and Mrs. Jack Adams, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Mokel, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Taylor, and Mr. and Mrs. Kavanaugh. The first couples you'll recognize some of these people because some of them are in the audience. One of the first couples to join was Kenny and Helen James, and then Florence Cunningham. They're laughing at the pictures. Speaking of couples, I had an interesting conversation the other day with a friend of mine. Well, I thought it was happily married. He said that he and his wife had such a fight that he didn't see her for 3 days. Then his right eye started to open up. Well, there's another way to expand your membership, and one of the things that happened prior to the first convention was the birth of a new member. Here you are looking at Kevin Christopher Mokel, who was born on 8/22/1972. And a series of predictions came about as a result of his birth. It was predicted that he would eat pablum from a Peter Rabbit bowl, that he would drink milk from a kitten's cup. His first step would be at a carnival convention. His first words would be Carnival Glass. He would know all of his patterns by the time he was 12, and he would be president of HOACGA in 1993. And I counted him up, 5 out of 6 is not too bad. Bylaws were established. Dues were $5 when the club started. Davis Scheichels was elected president. Honorary memberships were given to several individuals, including Joe Olson, Rosalie White, Sherman Hand, Marion Hartung, Rose Presnick. For some of you that haven't been into this game for a long time, you may not recognize all of these people. The lady on the left is Rose Presnick. And here you see a picture of Sherman Hand. By 1973, there were 165 members. So in less than a year, this organization grew from really a handful of people to 165 people. The first convention was held in 1973 at the Western Hills Motel in Merriam, Kansas, April 27th and 28th. I would ask you to just reflect for a moment where you were in 1973. The big news in America in 1973 is that we were pulling out our last ground troops in Vietnam. President Nixon denied any wrongdoing in Watergate. The best movie was The Sting. The best actor was Jack Lemmon. The best actress was Glenda Jackson. The favorite TV show was The Waltons. I'll bet they collected carnival glass too. In comparing 1973 to 1998, population of the United States back then was 209 million. Today it's 267 million. A three-bedroom house back then cost, as an average, $32,500. Today it costs $120,900. A new Ford in 1973 cost, as an average, $4,157. Today it costs $18,985. So just remember where you were and what you were doing back in 1973. We know what at least about 165 people were doing. The convention that came had a collection of glass from the Wilson Reed collection that was auctioned, about 250 people in attendance. John Woody was the auctioneer. And there you see a younger John Woody, who still kind of looks like that today, quite frankly. The speaker was Ed Gaida, who at the time I believe was president of ICGA. He was from Victoria, Texas. He is the gentleman right in the middle of the picture, and his wife to the left. And at the first business meeting, Bob Grissom was elected president. He was a lot younger then. Where's Bob? Is that you, Bob?
That's it.
Okay, good. Yeah, he was a lot younger. But one of the things that I've always noticed about Bob, you know, even when he goes swimming, he wears a necktie. And so... Room sales, by the way, at the first convention were so brisk that the Brits kept their room open until 3 a.m. Times have changed, haven't they? The first souvenir piece was decided upon at the August 1973 meeting of the club for the 74 convention. And it was decided that there would be a good luck water set produced, and it would be in red. The Indiana Glass Company said that they could make this water pitcher for $4. Sounds like a pretty good deal. But the mold would cost $5,300. Fortunately, in the good old days, you didn't have to pay up front because the club only had about $1,000, and so they had to hope that they would make their money through sales. And of course, they were able to do that. A couple by the name of Frank and Fay Ronk left for Indianapolis by Amtrak. They were 3 hours late in getting there. Their hotel reservation was canceled. They drove on to Muncie, Indiana, where they stayed overnight, and then went to Dunkirk, where the factory was. There they rented a Ryder truck. They ran into snow. The truck didn't work. It was 618 miles back home. 4 days later, they arrived. Frank never volunteered to do that job again. The first Whimsies were introduced in 1974. April 29th, 1974, the mold was destroyed. They decided that they wanted to make sure that these pieces would hold their value based on scarcity. And so they destroyed the mold. Remember, it was $5,300. In 1974, Don and Connie Moore from California were the guest speakers. Matching tumblers were produced. Don't look at the picture for a second. I pushed the button too soon. Matching tumblers were produced. 2 days prior to the convention, Marion Hartung was robbed. and you all know the story about how she was tied up, and really a pretty scary robbery. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is that there were a number of robberies back during these early years. Word also had gotten around about Heart of America as a club. In August of 1974, a couple from Australia stopped and visited the monthly meeting. Also in 1974, a man by the name of John Roller, some of you will remember him at the White Horse Antique Shop, he also was robbed of about $15,000. And later in that year, Lloyd and Marge Stagner were robbed of their carnival glass. About 45 days later, a lady called George Loescher and asked him about the price of a couple of pieces. George, remembering that the Stagners owned these two pieces, called them, and as a result of that and his honesty, about 75% of those pieces were recovered. The bulletin, one of the bulletins in 1974 announced the first Brit auction to be held March 1st, 1975. John and Lucille wrote their first article in February of 1975 called "Collecting Carnival Glass Mugs Can Be Fun." By March of 1975, Mrs. Hartung had only recovered about 25 of the pieces that had been stolen from her. HOACGA was incorporated in 1975. Sarah Love became president, and at the November meeting it was decided that the new souvenir would be the whiskey set, the whiskey decanter that you see here. The mold was going to cost $7,000, and that these 7-piece sets would cost $90 to the membership. All of the good luck tumblers that had not sold in the previous year were then broken. Jack Hamilton, where were you when they needed you? You could have made a lot of jewelry out of those broken pieces. It's also in 1976 that the Collier auction came about in St. Louis. A Morning Glory amethyst pitcher sold for $7,000, and a marigold one sold for $4,900. People's vase sold for $4,500. Frolicking Bears pitcher for $3,500, and the only known tumbler at that time sold for $6,000. In the bulletin, in one of the bulletins in that year, Reverend Nevings of Pennsylvania asked if anyone knew of an aqua opal grape and cable punch set. He had 5 cups. It took about 20-some years for that punch bowl to finally show up. The 1976 convention was held at the Western Hills Hotel. It was very cold weather. The rooms open to the outside. It was not a very cooperative convention in terms of socializing. Cheryl Bullinger was elected president. In 1976, in June, Johnny Ball from Ponca City, Oklahoma, was also robbed. The bulletin reported the problem that reproduction glass was being made with the Northwood trademark. ACGA and Carlton Schliede began to seek legal action. HOACGA contributed $1,000, and in 1977 an injunction came against the company that was making these reproductions. The total cost in stopping the use of that trademark ultimately cost $7,000. The Wishart auction was during this same era. A green farmyard bowl sold for $7,500, and an amethyst people's vase now was up to $5,900, but a grape and cable cuspidor in amethyst sold for $7,000. It's also in 1976 that a interesting gentleman, and I had a picture and I didn't get a slide made, a man by the name of Leonard Harsh joined HOACGA. He was from Nebraska. He sat in the front row and bought many great pieces of carnival glass. and then got John Woody to pack it up for him and to take it to his home in Nebraska, where he left it in the box. Later, he sold his collection at HOACGA. 1977, the convention had Dr. Jack and Mary Adams as speakers, and it is here that Roland Kuhn and Don Keim introduced the room displays. And there you see a picture of Roland, recently deceased. And there are some of the other room displays. I pushed it too soon. Floyd, will you come here a minute? I need your help on this. Floyd has been unmerciful on me over the years. Floyd, don't get close to the microphone though. That's close enough. Floyd has teased me incessantly about my hairstyle. And for old time's sake tonight, I want to look like I used to. But what I want you to know, Floyd and I go back a long time. You know, we're both Texans, although I'm an import or a transport or something like that. But we go back a long time. I'm going to tell you a secret about Floyd. Floyd and I were in a band together. But I wasn't in the original band. Floyd's original band was Pink Floyd Whitley Band. And then he gave that one up, and we started a new band called ZZ Bottom. And there you see Floyd and I. That's Floyd on the left when he had more of a red beard, and it's me on the right. And Floyd never liked a ponytail, but I want you to see what he looked like in the band. Now you know the secret. Actually, there are several people that could pass for boys in the band. In 1977, at the auction, it featured an aqua opal peacocks at the Fountain Fruit Bowl, which brought $2,500. A Millersburg Hobstar and Feather vase, which brought $1,400. And actually, the auction was stopped because prices were not going the way they wanted them to, the owner, and so they actually stopped the auction. Fortunately, we don't have that anymore. In one of the bulletin articles during that era, Sherman Hand mentioned that he had passed up a green farmyard bowl at $500 because he liked the amethyst one for $750. Liberace agreed. Now, some of you have heard that story that Liberace used to collect carnival glass, and apparently there is some real truth to that. The Brits did their first article on tumblers during this time. Tom Burns joined Heart of America. In 1978, the first miniature mugs, favors, table favors in red came. Joe Olson was the speaker, Cooley Miller was president, and about 275 people registered for the convention, and there were 1,000 members of HOACGA. I want to show you some pictures now of some people who brought whimsies in 1978. And really the importance, these are really pictures for those of you who haven't been around as long as some people have been around, if that makes any sense. These are people whose names you hear about, and here you see John and Lucille Britt, Here you see the Millers, and you see Don and Connie Moore, and Mr. and Mrs. Richard Tilton, and they were really instrumental also with HOACGA in getting that trademark under control with the lawsuit. And then, although this is from a different year, I didn't know that Frank would be here, but I wanted to include his picture because of all of the great things that he has done for HOACGA also. In 1978, the Bulletin did announce the death of Rose Presnick, who died on my birthday, actually, in June 12, 1978. It was then in September of that year that HOACGA decided to establish the HOACGA Notebook. In the auctions were reported a gay 90s tumbler sold for $850, an ice blue Acorn Burrs punch set sold for $1,200, and later in the year, a pulled husk, and you see it there in the middle of that brochure, a pulled husk corn vase sold for $2,100, and a Concord plate in marigold sold for $225. For those of us that would like to turn back the clock, it would be fun to go back and buy some of those pieces, of course, at that price. In 1979, George Loescher was the speaker, and at the banquet they served rare Cornish hens. They also, some of the people remember those. They danced, they had a band, and Floyd wasn't in that one. I hope those were costumes. And here we just see them having some good times at the convention. But apparently, that wasn't the only dancing that went on. And as I understand it, this actually happened in 1980. In 1979, it was reported the Mogg collection was sold with a great number of rare pictures. And there you see the Frolicking Bears picture and some of the other pictures that were sold at that auction. The first section of the notebook which was the punch sets, was delivered. Membership dues were raised in 1979 to $10. At the 1980 convention, there was a concern about attendance because we were concerned at that time about the rationing of gasoline because of the problems that we were having in the Middle East. Cooley Miller was elected president. There was a proposal to limit the term to 2 years, but it failed. And here are the whimsies from 1980. And isn't it interesting, in all these auctions that we see, hardly ever do we see some of these really great whimsies that were made. It's also during this time that the Woody Auction Company made a proposal to this organization that there would be a carnival glass auction on Waikiki Beach in Hawaii for $1,200 inclusive. Not enough interest in the club to do so, and so there never was a carnival glass auction in Hawaii. And as a matter of fact, if you look through your directory, I think that you will find that there are no members from Hawaii at this time. It's all because we didn't go on the beach and have a... On your left, you see a young Tom Burns. It was also during this time that Tom Burns announced that he would have his first auction, and it would feature his own carnival. And there you see Tom at one of the conventions having fun with some of the other members. It was also during 1981 that Cora Kilgore resigned as treasurer, saying that because of the amount of money that was being handled by the club, that a more professional set of books needed to be kept. In 1981, George McGrew was elected president. There were 1,388 members. And isn't this interesting? Marion Hartung attended her first ever convention. In 1982, the bulletin talked about the Wilson auction in Strongville, Ohio, which was a Millersburg collector's dream. There they had a blue rose column vase sold for $8,000, a marigold one sold for $900, an amethyst memorial Cleveland ashtray sold for $1,000, and a Vaseline acorns compote sold for $3,000. In 1982, the convention auctioneer was Tom Burns, and it was decided that in 1983, whichever auctioneer who could provide a good auction would be given the auction. Dues by 1982 had been raised to $20 per family, and the notebook inserts could no longer be given away, but rather would have a charge of $3 would have to be made. In 1983, the last issue of the bulletin by Don Kime, pictured here, came out. This also is the time that a man by the name of Al Retke from Minnesota became the bulletin editor. In the bulletin, some interesting articles about rare glass that had been found, including a blue opal holly bowl, a Brooklyn bridge without lettering, and a peacock's bowl with blue-white slag on the bottom. Also, an ice green mirrored lotus bowl had been found, and an ice green wild strawberry bowl had been found. In 1983, Woody auctioned the collection of Bill Carroll, who was from California, who had 2,800 pieces in his collection. There were 145 bidders there. We had over 200 today. In 1983, some of you will remember going to the Hartung auction, where an aqua opal acorn burrs punch set sold for $12,500. In 1983, John Milbauer brought an aqua opal poinsettia bowl to show, and Tom Mordini joined HOACGA. By the way, did you all know that before Tom got into carnival glass, he was a parrot collector? But his wife got tired of the parrots because of some of the things that they said and did. For example, he brought home a parrot one time, and the parrot swore like a drunken sailor. Now, quite frankly, I don't know how a drunken sailor swears, but apparently it's pretty bad. And Tom didn't know what to do with that parrot, and so he tried everything. First, he threw it in the closet and said, if you don't stop that swearing, I'm going to keep you in the closet. The parrot just kept swearing away. So then he took the parrot's food away from him and said, you can't do all of that cursing. You've just got to stop. That didn't work. So the next day, when the parrot lit into him with all of these curse words, he decided what he'd do is he threw them in the freezer. And for several minutes, you could hear him thrashing around in there and cursing, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And he thought, oh my God, I froze him to death. And so he opened up the freezer, and the parrot hopped out, hopped up onto his shoulder and said, sir, I am very sorry for all of the bad words that I've ever said. I will never say another curse word again. What did that chicken do? In 1984, you have to think about that and visualize it for a minute, don't you? In 1984, Rick Kogis went to see an aqua opal peacock at Earn Master Ice Cream, it was reported in the bulletin, and the owner couldn't decide which one he wanted to sell. Only a couple of them were known at that time. In 1984, Cooley Miller was elected president, and it's then that the Leonard Harsh collection was sold, the fellow that never unpacked all of his glass. the guy from Nebraska. There, an aqua opal peacock and urn bowl sold for $3,000. An ice blue rose show plate sold for $575. And an aqua opal leaf and beads bowl sold for $300. And I give you those figures for a number of reasons. Some of them have changed immensely. Some of them have stayed relatively constant. In 1984, the Bulletin announced that an ice cream-shaped Goddess of the Harvest bowl was found in Australia. Bob Gallo found the 5th Frolicking Bears tumbler, and Tom Mordini found a Night Star Millersburg nappy in amethyst. In 1985, Bob Grissom was elected president. Burns did an auction that netted $75,000, and it was announced that the next year's convention would be moved to Lenexa. In 1986, the first colored paper was used with the Bulletin. In 1987, the first videotapes were made of the speakers and the seminars. A 2-year term of office was instituted. In 1988, the club purchased the rights to the original Hartung set of 10 books and began reproducing them for sale to the club members. It's also at that time that Emma Tilton did announce that the club, that HOACGA had ended successfully their lawsuit on the Northwood trademark. They only recovered about $2,500, unfortunately. In the 1988 Bulletin, the Brits began their peek into the past. In 1989, we had Jim Seek as the auctioneer, and he auctioned Noreen Duran's collection, where a Millersburg pipe humidor in marigold sold for $5,000. And the Purple Christmas compote sold for $1,600. In 1989, a robbery was reported in the Bulletin and an earthquake in California. And if you don't live in California, think about that with their carnival glass out there. Talk to them about how they anchor their glass so when the next earthquake comes along, it doesn't all get broken. This is also when an aqua opal poppy show bowl showed up at a Woody auction, and it set a pretty high price for the day at $18,500. The first educational HOACGA Bulletin educational book was published, and in 1990, a great program was put on by 3 of us Texans, and there are 4 of my girlfriends listening intently to the program that I did on red. In 1990, Don Moore did a comparison between the 1970 top 100 rarities with the same thing that Joe Olson had done. Joe Olson had said that the top rarity then was an amethyst people's vase. Don Moore said it was an aqua opal Acorn Burrs punch set. In 1991, the dues were increased to $25, and a marigold rose show variant plate was raffled, which was the first raffle that the club had. In 1991, Clint and Jean Fox did a program on hat pins, and it's their fault that Carol and I got involved with hat pins. Carl and Fern Schrader were banquet speakers. Bob Grissom was elected president. Chuck and Marge Kramer started writing there on the auction trail. The Bulletin announced that at the Brit auction in August of '91, a Nile Green Panther bowl had sold for $5,500 and a Red Panther sauce for $325. In 1992, the Bulletin announced the death of Don Moore, and later that year, part of his collection was auctioned. In 1993, HOACGA did something that I think was really important. They initiated the John and Lucille Britt Award for Excellence in Carnival Glass and honored the Brits the first year with that award. 1994 was not a totally spectacular year for the club. because there was a problem with the Treasury, later to be resolved. In 1994, the first Brit Award to be given to somebody else was given to the Whitleys. Cecil for her contribution in Carnival, Floyd for his singing. In 1994, you know that Carl and Fern Schrader were honored with the Brit Award. In 1995, Chuck and the late Marge Kramer were honored with the Brit Award, and the Allaire auction from Texas was held with HOACGA that year. In 1996, some of you began to be aware of the WWWCGA, that is the World Wide Web Carnival Glass Association, and some of us began talking about something that was going to change at least some of our lives. That organization, by the way, just passed 1,000 members within the last 2 weeks. In 1997, HOACGA wisely moved to this hotel, which is a great hotel, and the Brit Award went to Marie McGee. The downside of collecting Carnival glass, other than what it does to your pocketbook, is that almost every month we read that we have lost another member or more. So if you would join me in a moment of remembrance for all of those who have touched our lives, who too soon have left us. If you would just spend a moment thinking about those people. For those known and unknown, those remembered and forgotten, those present and absent, bless all of the helpers of mankind. To all of you who have made HOACGA a great organization, I say thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for that presentation. Probably to some newer members, there was a little, might have been somewhat boring, but to those that have been around for some time, I think there's a little bit of information in there for a lot of people. And we think that we do have a recording of this program also, but we do thank you, Richard, for the effort. I know it took a lot of time and effort to put that together and speech. So we're very greatly indebted to you, Richard, for that. So we will now ask Mr. Seek if he will come up and while Mr. Seek's coming up, the roses on the table. I think if you will look at your little wine there on the table, turn it over. If there is a star on the bottom, the table decoration centerpiece of the year. there was a suggestion by one of the old timers, Charlie Vogel, to those people, all those people that have attended all of HOACGA's conventions, would you stand up, please? I guess there's 4 of us, Charlie. 5. Oh, George made it. Right there. I think you missed 1. Frank Benton has missed 1. We'll have to give you 2 flashes for that, Frank.
Give him 2 flashes.
Also, Carol Curtis has been carrying around a box of room display awards. So if you had a room display and you have not picked up your room display award, the little hobnail cuspidor, would you please raise your hand, and maybe if they have, she can deliver one, or Jerry can deliver one, or we can get one delivered to you. So, is there some help? Can someone help Carol, please? All of those that have not received their, would you stand up, please, so that they can get it.
Okay.
Joe, there's one over here. There's one. There's 2 up here. Is all the centerpiece find a home? We got all the room display awards.
You have one for Cliff?
Cliff Ball didn't get one. What? Marie? No one had a... Well, you 2 Marines arm wrestle for that, would you? Give it to who? Lucille? Lucille will take it. Well, we have one of the ways that we help support the activities of the organization is through the efforts of, like Frank Benton, that has made the whimsies for us. We have 20 whimsies, and there is a list of whimsies that we have that we'll be auctioning off. And the first thing that anybody that wants a list of the whimsies, we have some to pass out. The first thing we're going to auction, we'll turn it over to Jim Seat, and Seat will then auction off the whimsies and the lamp. And we want to thank the 2 ladies from New Zealand. They brought a couple of items from New Zealand that will also be auctioned. Thank you.
Okay, can y'all hear me all right? I am a little bit hoarse, so we'll see if we can get through this all right. Dave's going to help me out up front. I have Scott and George people to help. Daryl got a bunch of people to help. First of all, I'd like to, before I get into selling anything, I'd like to thank Joyce and Bobby. It's a privilege to sell a collection like that we just had here today. There's not many chances in an auctioneer's life to do a sale like that. I want to thank you very much. I do. Now I'd like to thank Bob and Don. Where are you? The Cox? Where are you? They're donating this lamp here today. And I know that Bob puts a lot of time in making these lamps. It's all made out of old carnival glass pieces, broken pieces. Am I correct? Where are you? I don't even see you around. Is that correct? Okay. Bob says this is the last big lamp he's going to make. It does take a lot of time to make these. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, pretty lamp. And here's a rare opportunity you're going to have tonight. It'll give you $500. $100 bill. I get $100. Not 500. Thank you. 600. 500. Nothing. 600. Nothing. 600. Nothing. 600. Nothing. 600. 500. Nothing. 600. Nothing. 600. Nothing. 600. 700. 650. 600. Now you get me. Now you get me. Now you get me. Now you get me. 650. 600. Now you get me. Now you get me. Now you get me. 650. Now you get it. 650. Now 700. And now 700. Now 700. Now 700. 650. Now 700. 650. Now 700. 700. Now 700. 700. Now 650. Now 700. 650. It all goes. All the money goes to the club. 650. Now 700. 700. Now 650. And 700. 700. Yeah. You're in. 650, 700, 700, now 750. Hey, we can break the rules with these kind of sales. 750, 700, how many you give me? 750, 750. Sold it to you, 7. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Bob. Ken, all right, young ladies from New Zealand, where are you? Thank you very much. They've donated a couple items tonight. One is a little stuffed kiwi. This is not the fruit type. All right. Well, give me a $100 bill. Now these are native of New Zealand, am I correct? $100 bill. 25. 25. $10 bill. 10, 15. 10, 11, you get 15. Not 20, 20, 20, not 20, 20, not 20, 20, not 20, 20, not 20, 50. You get it? 20. Now 5. 20. Now 5. Get 5. 5. 25. Now 30. And now 30. 30. Now 30. Now 5. 5. 5. 35. 5. Get 5. 35. 5. Get 5. 35. 5. Get 5. 30. Now 5. 30. Now 5. Get 5. 5. Get 5. Now 5. Get 5. 5. Get 5. 30 and 5. 30 and 5. And now $40. And now 40. 40. Now 5. 5. 45. 5. You're out. 45. 5. 5. 45. Now 50. And now 50. 50. Now 50. 45. 50. 50. Now 50. 45. And 50. $50. Sold $45. Goes to Bob Gallo. Bob Gallo won it. This is a doll from New Zealand. It's the, am I pronouncing this right? A Moray doll? Is that a Maori? What is it? A native of New Zealand?
Maoris are the native people of New Zealand. That one's you don't see them running around like that. It's part of the culture. There's the traditional dress that he's got is greenstone around his feet, which is greenstone carpet that they did. And flex skirt.
Okay, I hope you all heard that. All right, on the down there. Oh, give me a $100 bill. 25, let's go. 25, 45, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, 45, 35, 45, 35, 25, 35, 35, now 35, 35, now 45, 45, 45, now 45, 45, now 55, 55, now 55, now 65, 65, 65, now 65, 65, now 75, 75, 75, now 85, 85, 85, now 95, 95, now 95, 95, now 95, 95, now 95, 95, 95, now 95, 85, 95, 85, now 95, 95, 85, 95, 95. Sold $85 bucks.
Give it. Emmett, read on.
Read. All right, now we're going to get into some of the loving cups here. Number one's the loving cup champagne opal. On the champagne opal, $100 bill. 25, 35, 25, 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, 45, 45, now 45, get 45, 45, now 45, 35, 45, 45, 55, 55, now 55, 65, 65, 65, now 65, now 35, 35, 35, 55, 55, now 85, get 85, now 95, 95, now 95, now 105, 105, Frank, 105, 15, 115, now 15, 15, now 15, 105, now 15, we get 15, 105, 15. You know it's good if he's bidding on it. 105, because he can hold make him if he wants to. 105, 15, now 15, we get 115, 105, now 15, we get 15, 105, 115. Sold $105. Thanks, Frank. Thank you very much. All right, now here's the French Opal loving cup. The French Opal. $100 bill. 25, 35, 25, 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, now 45, now 45, get 45, 45, now 45, get 45, 45, now 45, 45, 45, 35, 45, 35, now 45, get 45, now 45, get 45, 35, 45, 35, 45, now 55, now 65, 65, 65, now 65, 65, 65, 65, now 65, 65, 65, 55, now 65, 65, now 65, 55, 65, 75, 75, 75, 85, 85, 85, now 85, 75, 85, 85, you're on the 85, 85, now 85, 75, 85, 95, 95, now 105, 105, 105, 105, David, 105, 105, 105, sold $95 down in the front. Billy, thank you. Hey, we're on the custard one. Custard. Bob has his hand over there. $100 bill. 25, 35, 25, 35, 35, 45, 45, 55, 55, 55, 55, 55, 75, 75, 75, 15. Now 125, 125, 25, 125, 125, 125. Sold $115 for Floyd and Cecil Whitley.
There you go.
On the spruce green loving cup. $100 bill. 25, 35, 25, 35, 35, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 55, 55, 55, 55, 55, 55, 75, 75, 85, 85, 85, 95, 95, 105, 105, 105, 105, 115, now 15, 15, 115, now 15, 115, 115, now 15, 15, now 125, 125, 125, 125, 125, 125, 125, now 135, 135, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, now 35, 135, 135. Sold $125 your way, John.
Here? Gentleman here?
Okay. By the way, I'm supposed to announce, don't come up and pay until we're all done, okay? But please do. Please do. Okay, on the plum loving cup. $100 bill. Yeah. $100, 25, 110, 110, 20, 120, now 20, get it, 21, 20, now 20, get it, 20, now 20, now 20, get it, 20, 110, now 20, get it, 20, now 20, 30, 130, 140, 140, now 40, get it, 40, now 40, get it, 40, 30, 130, 40, 130, now 40, get it, 40, now 40, get it, 40, now 40, 130, now 40, get it, 130, and 140, 140, 50, 150, 160, 160, 170, 180, 180, 80, now we get 80, 180, 190, 190, now 200, 200, now do we get it, 200, now do we get it, 200, now 10, 10, 220, 220, now 20, get it, 20, now 20, 220, now 20, 220, 220, 220. Sold $210 to the Metzgers. Here's the white one with the square top. The white loving cup with a square top. $100 bill. Yeah. $125, 125, 25, 110. Sold at $100 and it goes to in the number. And it goes to David, doesn't it? Did you get it? David Ayers. Thank you, David. Amy. Number 7 is the loving cup in white. It's a handkerchief type. It's got this, or you can use it for business cards. $100 bill. So 25, 35, 25, 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, now 45, 45, 55, now 55, 55, 65, 65, now 65, 65, 65, over here, 55, 65, 55, 65, 65, 65, 65, now 75, 85, 85, now 85, now 85, 85, now 105, 105, I get 105, I get 115, now 15, 125, 125, 125, 125, 145, 145, 145, now 45, 145, 145, 135, 145, 145. Sold $135 to Ken and Eileen. Ken and Eileen. All right, now we're going to go here's one of the wine glasses, and I put a little candy ribbon edge around the top of it. $100 bill. 25, 35. 25, 35, 35, sold $75 back to Nora. Wine glass, 3-in-1 edge, deep ruffle. $100 bill. 25, 35. 25, 35, 35, 45, 45, 45, 45, dig your in. 75, 85, 75, 75, 85. Oh, 75, 95. We got new rules here. 85, 95, 85, 95, 85, 95. Your man's in. Whoever you got. 85, 95, 85, 95. Now 105, 105, 105. You can all be over here too. 105, 105. Sold $95 your way. We can do it again. 105, 150, 105, 50. 150 now. This is for donation. 150 now. 105, 150.
Okay.
125, 125, 125.
One more time, she won't bid again.
Sold $115. Look at this thing. Loving cup, spruce green. Lace with flowers painted by J.D. Spindler or J.K. Spindler, is that correct?
Call her Robin.
You call her Robin? Robin Spindler. All right, we'll give you about 200. 25, 35. 25, 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, now 35, get 35, 35, 45, 55, 55, 55, 55, 65, 65, 65, 65, now 65, 65, 65, 65, 65, 65, 85, 85, 85, Bob. 95, you're up, Bob. 95, 95, now 95, 95, 85, now 95, 105, 15, 100, he's bid, 115, now 105, he's bid, I got him already. 105, 15, 125, 125, 135, Bob, you're out again. 135, 135, 135, 135, 135, 135, 135, 135, 145, 45, 55, 55, 165, 165, 165, 185, 185, 185, 185, 185, 185, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 195, 75.
It's not one.
Sold $185 to Sweden.
Excuse me.
To Sweden.
Who did it go to?
Here's a wine glass, candy ribbonette, and also ruffle. It's tri-corner, pre-ruffle. Is that decorated also? Here, let's see.
No.
Okay. All right, $100 bill. 25, 35. 25, 35, 35, 35, 35, 85, just an 85, 85, 85, no, 85, 85, I'm over here, 85, you're up, David, 85, 85, no, 85, 85.
I want to see it.
Would you like to see it? We were supposed to have a viewing, huh? 75, 85. 75, 85, 85, 85, right up here, come towards me. 75, 85, 85, no, 85, slow motion, 85, no, 85, 85, 85, 95, 95, 95, no, 95, 95, no, 95, 85, 95. Sold $85 to the Strummings, The Loving Cup and Custard is painted with violets by artist Kim Plauché. Is that correct? Kim Plauché. And she's one of your top artists, is she not? That's correct. All right, moving about 200. 25, 35. 25, 35, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 165, 165, 65, 65, 165, 165. Sold $155. Who do you have back there?
Donald White.
13, here's a wine glass with 6 ruffles. 25, 35, 25, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, Mike, 35, 25, 35, 35, 35, 35, 95. Sold $85 to Ken and Eileen. All right, we're on the Christmas combo. The red Christmas combo is decorated with gold holly leaves.
The only one like it.
It's the only one like it in the world. And who decorated it, you know? Is it signed by Bob? Bob Allaire? Is it signed by the artist?
No, I don't see it.
Martha Reynolds was the artist. And I understand she's also one of your top artists. The top artists.
It's a beauty.
All right, who'll give me something, 50? How about $100 bill? 200. $100. Where'd you get it? Hey, I'm way in the back. 850, 900, 900, 1983 loving cup with pink roses, and it's unsigned, is that correct? Arthur Reynolds did that one also? Does it say 1983 on it?
When we asked Frank to make the loving cup, of course this was made last time in 1983, so he made some samples and sent to us to see what the white would look like. So we said that was all right, and we sent one back, so he had this decorated. So it's a 1983 loving, the marked 1983 loving cup, but it was made in 1998.
All right, on the loving cup. We'll give you about 200. $100 bill. 25, 35. 25, 35, 115, Robbie. 115, now 15, we get a 15, 15, now 15, 115, 115. Sold 105 with Brian Goodman. Thank you, guys. Here's a loving cup, grape and lilacs and champagne, and it's decorated with grapes and lilacs and champagne opal. Also inside, you know, Frank, you remember who made that?
Let me look at it.
Want to take over to Frank? Oh, okay, Kim Flachet. All right, Kim painted that. All right, look at me, $100 bill. 25, 35, 25, 35, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, Sold 155, goes to the Curtises, $155. Here's a loving cup with roses and daisy and plum, painted by Kim Lachey. Signed by Kim Lachey. Hard to say that. All right, go give me 200. 25, 35. 25, 35, now 45, 45, 45, you're out, 205, 205,
Gosh, I've got
205, 205.
Don't even look at me. I used to go to California.
Sold $195.
Already sold, good. Who got this one? I got this one.
Okay, to the minute.
Yeah.
Okay, basket, Morning Glory, Hummingbirds, painted by Francis Burton. I believe it is signed also. Is it signed? I believe it is signed. Okay. It's the only one of these that has been produced or you decorated.
That's different colored edge.
Different colored edge than anything that you've made before.
Morning
correct?
Glory and Hummingbird painting on the inside.
Okay. Oh, give me 300. $100 bill. Sold at $350. Thank you very much, Joyce and Bobby. Thank you. Loving cup, flowering vine, unsigned. That's pretty. Can you tell all your arts? Only inside. They're looking for the signature. Normally they do sign home. Probably signed somewhere in there.
Maybe Frank painted that.
There you got 2 left to buy. Let's go to 1 more. All right, on the lovey cup. Will give me $100 bill. $125. Sold $100 bill. David, did you get that one? David Ayers. Thanks, David. Before we tell the last one, I'd like to thank all the guys that helped us run again here. Thanks, John. Thanks, David. On the lovely cup, Lacey top and inside is plum.
Last one.
This is the last one.
25th anniversary of Survivor.
Okay. J.K. Spiller did this one. And it is signed. Am I correct? 200. 25, 35. 25, 35, 35, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45,
I don't believe it's down there in California, is it?
What's it divide? 165, then divide.
It's a pretty one, folks.
85, 185, 185, 185, 205, 215. Sold $205 back to the peppers. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Ed Kramer and Jackie and Norma will be here, and you can pay for your purchase at that time up here at this table. Again, we thank you for coming. We hope that it has been an enjoyable experience, that you have enjoyed it. I think for me, I thought the banquet dinner was very good. And I think that they will be open in the morning at 6 o'clock for breakfast. They normally do not open until 7, but they said they would be open at 6 for those early risers that want to get up, get on the road, and have a good breakfast. So we hope to see you next year, and probably a lot of us will see you again in June at the ICGA here. Does anybody want to make any announcement about the ICGA? Richard, do you want?
Certainly you are all welcome to come to the International Convention, which will be held here in this hotel. It's the last week in June, as I remember the dates, and we will also have a very, very fine collection. We will be selling part of John Lucille's collection, so it will be a very, very good auction. We have lots of good seminars. We're going to do one on color. So it will be very, very similar to this because we'll be at this hotel. It will be a great convention. We hope that all of you will come to that one too.
The Pacific Northwest.
I want to say that I'm very proud of the Pacific Northwest at the Heart of America Convention this year. We brought 22 members. I'm real proud of them, and I'd like to see 22 members from the Heart of America at our convention and of August.
Where's he going to be?
No, second week end of August. In, I don't know, Larry Olson. I'd like to see you guys match us out there. Thank
you. Any other ACGA? Any other? Yes. George Thomas, Northern California convention will be held at Modesto the weekend. I think it's the 20th, 18th, 19th, and 20th of June in Modesto at the Holiday Inn. And I have agreed to be the speaker there on the 20th. So George and Dale will like to see you there. They have a very good convention center, and at the Holiday Inn it's on a same kind of arrangement as this. They do a very nice job. The weather is always nice there. And then after you leave, you can go by and see Dale and George on the way after you leave there. So in Belmont, California. If you've never been to Dale and George's house for a visit, you have missed a unique opportunity. They are very gracious. Any other announcements? If not, we thank you for coming, and we will hope to see you back here or other place or other office. So good night. We'll see you in the morning for breakfast.